My beloved child, before you move on to the next thought, before another sound reaches for your attention, remain here for one quiet moment. Let your heart slow down. Let the questions inside you become still enough to be heard. You may be wondering why you are here, why these words reached you at this particular moment, why something within you chose to stay instead of moving on. Do not rush to explain it away. There are moments in life when the most meaningful invitations arrive quietly. They do not always come with thunder. They do not always announce themselves with certainty. Sometimes they arrive as a gentle interruption, a pause in the middle of an ordinary day, a small opening where a tired heart finally has enough room to listen. My child, I know you have been carrying questions that do not have simple answers. I know there are things you have placed before me more than once. There are prayers you have whispered with confidence, and there are prayers you could barely finish because disappointment had already made your voice tired. I have seen the moments when you tried to remain hopeful while another day passed without the clarity you wanted. I have seen you continue with your responsibilities, speak kindly to others, complete what needed to be done, and still carry a quiet question beneath everything. Father, do you remember what I asked you? I do not condemn you for asking. I do not turn away because your faith became tired. I am not disappointed by the places where your hope has become fragile. Come closer with those places. You do not have to hide them from me. Perhaps the reason this moment feels different is not because you have finally become strong enough to understand everything, but because your heart is becoming ready to stop carrying everything alone. There is a timing to the way truth reaches the soul. Some words pass through us when we are rushing, but the same words can become a doorway when we are finally quiet enough to receive them. So do not worry about solving the mystery of why you are here. Receive the moment instead. Let it become a divine appointment, in the simplest sense, a space where you turn your attention toward me again, a space where the noise becomes softer, a space where you remember that your life is more than the unanswered question you have been carrying. There may be a hidden message beneath your waiting, but it is not a secret meant to frighten you. It is not a puzzle designed to make you afraid that you will miss my will. It may be something gentler. It may be the reminder that I am still worthy of your trust when you cannot see the next mile of the road. It may be the realization that silence does not have to mean abandonment. It may be the beginning of learning that your peace does not have to wait until every question is resolved. My child, I am not asking you to pretend that waiting has been easy. I am asking you to notice that you are still here. Your heart may be tired, but it is still reaching. Your hope may feel small, but it has not disappeared. Your prayer may have changed from many words into a single breath, but I hear the heart beneath that breath. There is a reason I invite you to become still before me. Stillness makes room for truth to rise above fear. Stillness gives wounded thoughts somewhere to rest. Stillness allows you to remember what pressure made you forget. You are not carrying your life without my presence. So stay here for this moment. Do not force an answer. Do not demand a sign. Do not measure my nearness by what has changed around you today. Simply let yourself be known. Let yourself be seen. Let yourself be held in the quiet assurance that your questions have not made you unwanted, your waiting has not made you invisible, and your weariness has not placed you beyond grace. There is more I want your heart to understand about the season you have been walking through. But first, I want this truth to settle deeply within you. You are here, you are listening, and you do not have to carry the next moment by yourself. My beloved child, now that your heart has grown a little quieter, I want you to let me come closer to the weight you have been carrying. You have learned how to function while tired. You have learned how to answer people when your own heart had no answers. You have learned how to keep moving through ordinary mornings, crowded afternoons, and long evenings while something inside you remained heavy. I see that hidden burden. I see the exhaustion that does not always disappear after sleep. I see the emotional fatigue that follows you even on days when nothing dramatic happens. Sometimes you wake up already feeling behind. Before your feet touch the floor, your mind begins remembering what still has not changed, what still needs attention, what still waits for an answer. You reach for your phone, you look for a message, you check for news. You wonder whether today will finally feel different. And when nothing appears, you tell yourself to keep going. You make the coffee. You get dressed. You drive the familiar roads. You carry conversations. You complete tasks. You smile when someone asks how you are doing. You say, "I am fine," because explaining the whole weight feels harder than carrying it quietly. My child, I know the silent struggle behind those simple words. I know how tiring it is to hold hope in one hand and disappointment in the other. I know how confusing it feels to believe that I am good while also wondering why the thing you have prayed about remains unresolved. I know the ache of seeing other people move forward while your own situation seems to stand still. You celebrate for them, and part of you means it sincerely, yet another part of you quietly asks, "When will it be my turn?" You do not always say that question aloud because you are afraid it sounds selfish. You do not want to appear ungrateful. You do not want anyone to think your faith is weak. So you bury the question beneath responsibility. You keep showing up, you keep serving, you keep trying, but the question remains. I see it. I also see the nights when your body is tired but your thoughts refuse to rest. The room is quiet, yet inside you there is movement. You replay conversations. You imagine possibilities. You wonder whether you made the wrong decision somewhere along the way. You ask yourself if you missed something, if you misunderstood, if you should have tried harder, prayed differently, waited more patiently. Sometimes the burden is not one terrible moment. Sometimes it is the steady weight of not knowing. It is the emotional strain of carrying an unfinished story for too long. It is waking up with the same question that was there yesterday. It is trying to remain hopeful without knowing when hope will become easier to hold. My beloved child, I do not look at that weariness and call you faithless. I do not look at your tears and call them weakness. I do not look at your questions and turn away. I know what you have been carrying beneath the surface. I know the hidden pain that has become so familiar, you sometimes forget how heavy it is. I know how often you have told yourself, "Just make it through today." I know how many times you have protected other people from your sadness because you did not want to become a burden to them. I know the pressure of being the dependable one, the calm one, the strong one, while privately wishing someone could see how tired your heart has become. I see you, my child. I see the part of you that still hopes, and I see the part that is afraid to hope too much. I see the part that still prays, and I see the part that sometimes does not know what to say anymore. I see the tension between trust and emotional fatigue. I see it all without condemnation. You do not have to make your pain smaller in my presence. You do not have to clean up your emotions before bringing them near me. You do not have to pretend that waiting has not affected you. Let yourself be known here. Let the tiredness be honest. Let the disappointment have a name. Let the quiet ache come into the light. There is something deeper beneath this exhaustion, something your heart has slowly begun to believe during the silence. And before I speak to you about what lies ahead, I want to show you what that hidden belief has been doing inside you. My beloved child, now that you have allowed the hidden weight to come into the light, I want you to notice something deeper. Pain does not only make the heart tired. If it stays unanswered long enough, it can begin to teach the heart things that are not true, quietly, slowly, almost without your permission. A delay becomes a message. A disappointment becomes a conclusion. A closed moment becomes a definition of who you are. And before you realize it, you are no longer simply waiting. You are believing something about yourself because of the waiting. Perhaps you began to think, "I have been forgotten." Perhaps you looked at how long the silence lasted and decided that your life must matter less than the lives of those around you. Perhaps you watched someone else receive what you had prayed for, and a small voice inside you whispered, "Maybe they are more worthy. Maybe I am not enough." My child, I know how convincing that voice can sound when you are tired. Fear often borrows the language of reason. It tells you that it is only being realistic. It says, "Look at the evidence. Nothing has changed. You should stop expecting anything." Self-doubt joins it and begins collecting old memories, old failures, old words people spoke over you, old moments when you felt overlooked. Then all of those pieces gather into one painful belief. There must be something wrong with me. But listen closely to me. Your waiting is not proof that you are unwanted. Your unanswered question is not proof that you are unworthy. Your uncertainty is not evidence that I have turned my face away from you. You have been interpreting silence through the wound of fear, and fear has made conclusions that my love never made. I know there were times when you blamed yourself. You wondered whether you prayed the wrong way. You questioned whether your faith was too small. You replayed decisions and imagined that one mistake had somehow disqualified you from being led by me. You may even have thought, if I were stronger, more faithful, more disciplined, more spiritual, maybe things would be different by now. My beloved child, do you hear how heavy that belief has become? It turns every unanswered moment into an accusation. It makes you measure your value by outcomes you cannot control. It teaches you to look at your life and ask whether you are enough, instead of looking at my grace and remembering that you were never loved because you performed perfectly. There is another false belief hiding beneath the first. It says, if I cannot see what God is doing, then God must not be doing anything. This belief makes the visible world feel like the final authority. It makes one quiet season feel permanent. It makes one closed door feel like the end of the road. It makes today's confusion seem stronger than tomorrow's possibility. But what you can see has never been the full measure of what is true. There are things happening in the deepest places of your heart that do not announce themselves loudly. There are lessons taking root before you know how to name them. There are places where your need to control is being revealed, places where your dependence on approval is being exposed, places where your heart is learning how much it wants certainty before it will allow itself to rest. I am not showing you these things to shame you. I am showing you because healing begins when a lie is finally recognized as a lie. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. You are not less loved because your story has taken a different path. You are not disqualified because you became tired. You are not weak because fear visited you. You are not abandoned because you do not yet understand what this season means. My child, fear has been telling you a story about your silence. Self-doubt has been telling you a story about your worth. Disappointment has been telling you a story about your future. But none of those voices created you. None of them know the whole road. None of them have the right to name you. Let that truth begin to open a little space inside your heart. You do not have to believe every conclusion pain has taught you. You do not have to carry every label fear has placed upon you. There is another way to see what has been happening, and I want to show it to you gently, because what looks empty on the surface may not be empty at all. My beloved child, now that you have begun to recognize the stories fear has been telling you, I want to show you how differently I see what you have been calling weakness, delay, and emptiness. You have been looking at your life from the surface, measuring what is visible, counting what has not happened, noticing what still feels unfinished. But I see deeper than the surface. I see the hidden strength you developed when no one was watching. I see the patience that grew in places where you thought nothing was growing at all. I see the way your heart kept turning toward me, even after disappointment made trust difficult. You saw yourself struggling. I saw you enduring. You saw yourself becoming tired. I saw a heart that kept returning. You saw questions. I saw honesty. You saw uncertainty. I saw a room being created for deeper faith. My child, you have often judged yourself by how confident you felt, but I have been watching something quieter. I have seen you choose kindness when your own heart was heavy. I have seen you continue to love when you felt overlooked. I have seen you wake up and take one more faithful step when you did not know where the road was leading. You called those things small. I did not. There is strength that does not look powerful from the outside. There is courage that does not raise its voice. There is growth that happens so slowly that you only recognize it after you have already become someone different. Think of a seed resting beneath the soil. From above, the ground can look unchanged. No green leaf, no visible movement, no evidence that anything is happening. Yet beneath the surface, the seed is opening. A root is reaching downward before anything reaches upward. Life is forming in darkness before it becomes visible in daylight. My beloved child, this is how I want you to understand some of the hidden seasons of your life. You have been asking why nothing appears to be changing, while I have been watching roots form in places you never knew needed strength. You wanted an answer that would change the outside. I have also been working in the inside. You wanted certainty. I've been teaching you how to remain when certainty is absent. You wanted the next chapter. I have been deepening the heart that will have to live inside whatever chapter comes next. This does not mean every delay was sent for a specific reason you can easily explain. It does not mean every disappointment must be called good. I know some things have simply hurt. I know some losses have left questions that cannot be answered with easy words. But pain is not the only thing I see when I look at you. I also see what pain did not take. It did not take your ability to love. It did not take your capacity to hope. It did not erase your worth. It did not remove you from my care. It did not close the door to growth. You have been looking at the places where you feel incomplete and saying, I should be farther by now. I look at those same places and say, look how far you have already come. You remember the nights you doubted. I remember that you still whispered my name. You remember the mornings you felt empty. I remember that you still got up. You remember every moment you were afraid. I also remember every moment fear did not get the final word. My perspective is not shaped by your worst day. I do not define you by the season that exhausted you. I do not reduce you to the question you still cannot answer. I see the whole person. I see the tenderness that survived. I see the wisdom slowly forming. I see the humility that came from discovering you cannot control everything. I see the deeper hunger for what is true, not merely what is quick. And I see something else, my child. I see that you are learning to become less dependent on visible proof before you allow yourself to trust that growth may not impress the world. It may not look dramatic, but it matters. It matters because roots determine what can stand when the wind changes. Roots determine what can receive when a new season comes. So do not despise what has been happening beneath the surface. Do not call yourself forgotten because your growth has been hidden. Do not call yourself weak because you needed time. Do not call this season empty simply because you cannot yet see all that it has been forming in you. There is more life beneath the soil than your eyes can measure, and I want to teach your heart how to recognize it. My beloved child, I know the question that rises when the days feel longer than you expected. Why must this take so long? Why does something that matters so deeply to you seem to move so slowly? Why would I allow a season where you cannot yet see the outcome? I want you to know that I understand why waiting can feel painful. Waiting can make 1 week feel like a month. It can make an ordinary morning feel heavy before the day has even begun. It can make you wonder whether you missed your moment, whether you misunderstood my leading, whether something has gone wrong. But not every slow season is an empty season. Not every quiet season is a wasted one. There are things that can only grow through process. There are parts of your heart that cannot be rushed without being weakened. Think again of the seed beneath the soil. When it is first planted, nothing on the surface seems impressive. There is no visible proof of what it will become. The ground looks the same. The field can appear unchanged. But the seed is not wasting time. It is responding to a process hidden from the eye. The outer world sees silence. The inner life is beginning. My child, roots often grow before leaves appear. They move downward before anything reaches upward. They strengthen in darkness before they support anything visible in the light. This is one reason waiting can feel confusing. You naturally look for what is happening above the surface, while much of preparation begins below it. You ask, when will I see something? Yet there are seasons when the deeper question is, what is being formed in me while I cannot see? I am not saying that every delay has a simple explanation. I am not asking you to pretend that disappointment does not hurt. Some seasons are complicated. Some questions remain unanswered longer than you would choose. But even there, growth is still possible. Your waiting can teach you what hurry never could. It can reveal where fear has been driving you. It can show you how tightly you have been holding one specific outcome. It can uncover how much of your peace depended on knowing what would happen next. And when those things become visible, they can begin to heal. Preparation is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like learning to pray without demanding immediate relief. Sometimes it looks like becoming more patient with yourself. Sometimes it looks like discovering that your worth does not rise and fall with progress. Sometimes it looks like learning to rest even when one part of your story remains unfinished. These are not small things. They are roots. They are the quiet strength that can hold you steady when the season changes. There is also wisdom in seasons themselves. A field does not remain in one stage forever. There is a time for planting, a time for hidden growth, a time for tending, and eventually a time when what has been forming becomes visible. You cannot force spring to arrive by staring at winter. You cannot pull a seed upward without damaging what is trying to grow. In the same way, there are moments when trust means allowing process to remain process. My beloved child, I know you would often choose speed. I know you would rather understand everything now. But speed is not always kindness, and immediate answers are not always preparation. Sometimes what you need most is not a faster outcome, but a deeper foundation. Sometimes the heart must become ready to receive without being ruled by fear, to move forward without carrying old wounds into new places, to recognize what is healthy because discernment has had time to mature. So when you look at this season, do not only ask what has not happened yet. Notice what is becoming stronger. Notice the ways you are learning to return to me. Notice the fears you can now name. Notice the places where you are beginning to release control. Notice the tenderness that remains in you after disappointment. These are signs of unseen growth. This season is not asking you to become perfect. It is inviting you to become rooted. And roots do not rush. They deepen quietly, patiently, faithfully, preparing the life above them to stand when the next season finally comes. My beloved child, there is something taking shape within you that cannot be measured by how quickly circumstances change. You have been looking outward for evidence, but much of the deepest work of this season has been happening in the way you think, the way you respond, the way you carry uncertainty, and the way you are learning to move through life with a steadier heart. You are becoming wiser, not because you suddenly have every answer, but because you are beginning to recognize the difference between urgency and guidance. There was a time when every delay made you feel that you had to do something immediately, fix something quickly, force clarity before you were ready. Now you are learning to pause. You are learning that not every unanswered question requires an immediate decision. You are learning that wisdom often speaks more quietly than fear. You are becoming more resilient, not hard, not numb, resilient. There is a difference. Hardness closes the heart. Resilience teaches the heart how to remain open without falling apart every time life becomes uncertain. You have been disappointed, yet you are still capable of tenderness. You have been tired, yet you continue to take the next step. You have faced days when motivation was low, and still you kept showing up with what strength you had. That is not weakness. That is strength becoming quieter, deeper, and more mature. You are also learning patience, though patience may not feel beautiful while it is being formed. Patience is not passive. It is the ability to remain faithful without demanding that every result arrive on your preferred schedule. It is learning how to live today without making today feel like a waiting room for tomorrow. It is choosing not to let frustration make your decisions for you. It is giving your heart enough room to breathe before reacting. And slowly, almost unnoticed, that patience is changing the way you move through the world. My child, compassion is growing in you too. The person you were before this season may have looked at another person's struggle and thought, why do they not simply move on? But now you understand what it means to carry something invisible. You understand that some people smile while their hearts are exhausted. You understand that progress is not always visible from the outside. You understand why someone may need time, why someone may hesitate, why someone may have faith and still feel tired. Your own waiting has made you gentler with the unfinished places in others. That compassion matters. It will shape your words. It will shape your relationships. It will teach you how to sit beside someone without rushing to fix them. You are becoming more discerning as well. Things that once impressed you may no longer hold the same power. You are beginning to notice the difference between what looks exciting and what actually brings peace. You are learning that not every opportunity deserves your yes, not every opinion deserves access to your heart, and not every delay is a signal to abandon the path. Discernment is growing because you have had time to listen beneath the noise. You are learning your own patterns. You are noticing when fear is speaking. You are noticing when exhaustion is making everything look darker than it is. You are becoming slower to judge a moment and quicker to examine what is happening within you. This season is also teaching you humility. You are discovering that you cannot control every outcome. You cannot predict every turn. You cannot build a life strong enough to eliminate uncertainty. And strangely, that realization is not making you smaller, it is making you freer. You are beginning to understand that strength does not mean having complete control. Strength can mean remaining present when control is impossible. Strength can mean asking for help. Strength can mean changing your mind. Strength can mean resting before you are completely finished. Strength can mean admitting that you do not know and still taking the next faithful step. So when you ask who you are becoming, do not only look for dramatic change, look for the quieter evidence. You pause more than you used to. You listen more carefully. You recover more gently. You understand pain with greater compassion. You are less impressed by appearances. You are more aware of what peace feels like. You are learning to carry uncertainty without letting it become your identity. These things are being built slowly, layer by layer, beneath the surface. And when the season around you eventually changes, you may discover that the greatest preparation was not only for what you hoped to receive, but for the person you were becoming along the way. My beloved child, now that you have begun to understand what this season has been forming within you, I want to bring you to a quieter question. What will you do with what you now know? You do not need to force the future. You do not need to chase every possibility until your heart becomes exhausted again. You do not need to hold every unanswered detail as though your peace depends on your ability to control it. There is another way forward. Let go of what your hands were never meant to carry forever. Release the timeline you have rehearsed in your mind. Release the version of the story that says everything must happen in one specific way for your life to be good. Release the pressure to understand every delay before you can trust me. My child, surrender does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you stop hoping. It does not mean you become passive or indifferent. Surrender means you stop demanding that your heart be held hostage by what you cannot control. It means you place the outcome before me and say, Father, I still desire this, but I do not want this desire to become my master. That kind of surrender is not weakness. It is freedom beginning to breathe. There may also be something you need to forgive. Perhaps another person disappointed you in the middle of this season. Perhaps someone made promises they could not keep. Perhaps you were misunderstood when you were already tired. Perhaps you are carrying resentment towards someone who seemed to move forward while you were still waiting. Forgiveness does not ask you to pretend that what happened did not hurt. It does not erase wisdom or healthy boundaries. It simply refuses to let yesterday keep occupying the deepest room of your heart. Let me help you loosen your grip on what you were never meant to relive every day. And my child, perhaps the person you most need to forgive is yourself. Forgive yourself for the days when your faith felt small. Forgive yourself for the moments when frustration spoke too quickly. Forgive yourself for the decisions you made while afraid. Forgive yourself for needing time. Growth is not undone because you were imperfect while learning. You are allowed to become wiser without spending the rest of your life punishing the person you used to be. Now trust, not the kind of trust that demands a guarantee before it takes one step. Trust that is willing to walk with limited visibility. Trust that can say, I do not know what tomorrow will bring, but I can live this day faithfully. Trust that chooses the next honest step instead of trying to solve the next 100. When fear tells you to rush, pause. When disappointment tells you to close your heart, remain soft. When uncertainty tells you that you must have an answer immediately, breathe and remember that not every question needs to be solved today. You can pray, you can rest, you can make the phone call that is yours to make. You can do the work in front of you. You can care for your body. You can speak kindly. You can ask for wisdom. You can wait without turning waiting into punishment. My beloved child, I am not inviting you into a dramatic performance of faith. I am inviting you into a simple posture of open hands. Open hands cannot cling to control, but they can receive peace. Open hands cannot force a season to change, but they can remain ready for whatever wisdom the next step requires. Open hands say, I am willing to be guided. So bring me the date you hoped for. Bring me the outcome you imagined. Bring me the fear that whispers, what if nothing changes? Bring me the part of you that still wants certainty before it can rest. You do not have to silence those fears before coming near. bring them as they are. Then choose again. Let go, forgive, surrender, trust, not once for all time, but again whenever your heart tightens. Again, when the old question returns. Again, when you feel the urge to take control of what you cannot see. Each surrender becomes a quiet decision that fear will not choose your path for you. And as you practice that decision, something begins to change. The future may still be unknown, but your heart is no longer standing in the same place. My beloved child, there is more ahead of you than what this present moment can reveal. I know how easy it is to look at what has not changed and assume that the future will simply repeat the past. When disappointment has stayed for a long time, the heart can begin to expect more of the same. It can quietly say, do not hope too much. Do not imagine anything different. Protect yourself from being disappointed again. But I want you to understand that uncertainty is not the same as hopelessness. You may not know what is coming, but that does not mean nothing new can come. You may not see the next chapter, but the absence of a visible page does not mean the story has ended. There are possibilities beyond what fear has allowed you to imagine. There are conversations you have not yet had, opportunities you have not yet recognized, doors you have not yet considered, and forms of restoration that may look different from the picture you once carried in your mind. My child, restoration does not always mean returning to what was. Sometimes, restoration means becoming whole enough to walk forward without needing the past to be recreated. Sometimes it means peace returning to a place that once held anxiety. Sometimes it means confidence growing where self-doubt once lived. Sometimes it means discovering that what you thought was the only path was simply one path among many. A new chapter does not have to begin with a dramatic moment. It may begin with a different decision, a healthier boundary, a quiet conversation, a renewed desire to try again. A morning when you notice that your heart feels lighter than it did before. A day when you realize you are no longer reacting from the same wound. These changes may seem small, but small beginnings can carry great meaning. You have already learned that growth often becomes real before it becomes visible. The same can be true of what comes next. You do not need to predict the exact shape of the future in order to move toward it with hope. You do not need a guarantee before allowing yourself to believe that life can still hold goodness. There may be opportunities ahead that require the wisdom you have been developing. There may be relationships that benefit from the compassion this season has formed in you. There may be decisions where the patience you once resisted becomes the very thing that protects your peace. There may be a breakthrough, but perhaps not in the way the word is often used. Sometimes the breakthrough is internal before it becomes external. Sometimes it is the moment you stop measuring your worth by one unanswered prayer. Sometimes it is the moment you realize fear no longer controls how you wake up in the morning. Sometimes it is the courage to say yes to something healthy after a long season of hesitation. Sometimes it is the freedom to say no to what keeps draining you. My beloved child, hope does not require you to pretend everything will unfold exactly as you imagined. Hope is gentler and stronger than that. Hope says there is still room for grace. There is still room for wisdom. There is still room for healing. There is still room for something meaningful to grow from a season you would never have chosen. The future does not need to look identical to your old dream in order to contain beauty. Do not limit what can be restored by insisting it must return in the same form. Leave room for surprise. Leave room for new understanding. Leave room for doors that do not resemble the ones you once stood before. Leave room for your own heart to want something healthier than what it wanted when this journey began. You have changed. Your discernment has deepened. Your patience has grown. Your understanding of peace has become more mature. That means what fits your future may also look different from what you once expected. So lift your eyes without forcing them to see too far. You do not have to know the whole road. Let hope be enough for the next few steps. Let possibility enter where certainty is unavailable. Let your heart say, I do not know what is ahead, but I am willing to believe that this is not the end of what can become beautiful. There is still life beyond this waiting. There are still chapters you have not lived, and you do not need to rush toward them. You only need to remain open enough to receive them when they begin to appear. My beloved child, as you come to the end of this quiet journey, I want you to carry peace with you. Not the kind of peace that depends on having every answer. Not the kind that appears only when every circumstance finally makes sense. I mean the deeper peace that grows when your heart no longer believes it has been forgotten. You have carried questions. You have carried disappointment. You have carried the weight of waiting longer than you wanted. And through it all, you have been learning that your life cannot be measured only by what has or has not happened yet. You are more than the thing you are waiting for. You are more than the season that made you tired. You are more than the fear that once told you nothing would ever change. Let that truth settle gently inside you. You do not have to leave this moment with a perfect plan. You do not have to know what next week will bring. You do not have to force yourself to feel strong. Simply take with you what has become clear. You can release what you cannot control. You can forgive what has kept your heart tied to the past. You can trust one day at a time. You can allow hope to return without demanding that hope explain the future. You can rest without giving up. You can wait without calling yourself forgotten. My child, when the old thoughts return, remember what you have learned here. When fear says, nothing is happening, remember the roots beneath the soil. When self-doubt says, you are not enough, remember that your worth was never created by an outcome. When impatience says, you must know now, remember that wisdom does not always rush. When disappointment says, do not hope again, remember that hope can be gentle. It does not need to shout. It only needs enough room to breathe. Carry that kind of hope with you. Let it sit beside you in the car. Let it walk with you through the grocery store. Let it enter the quiet room at night when your mind begins asking old questions. Let it be present when you wake tomorrow and nothing looks dramatically different. Peace can still be there. You can still breathe. You can still pray. You can still take the next faithful step. And when your heart becomes tired again, you do not have to be ashamed of that either. Return, become still, bring the weight back into prayer. Healing is not always one powerful moment, after which you never struggle again. Sometimes healing is the gentle practice of returning to truth every time fear tries to rewrite your story. Sometimes it is choosing compassion toward yourself instead of judgment. Sometimes it is realizing that the question is still unanswered, yet your heart no longer feels as trapped inside it. My beloved child, may your mind become quieter. May your shoulders loosen from the pressure of carrying tomorrow before it arrives. May the parts of you that have been afraid of disappointment learn that they are allowed to rest. May wisdom guide your choices. May patience protect you from rushing into what is not right for you. May compassion remain alive within you. May hope become steady instead of anxious. And may the peace of Christ guard the places in you that have been worn down by uncertainty. You do not need to chase peace. Receive it. You do not need to manufacture faith. Practice it quietly. You do not need to prove that you have healed. Let healing continue at the pace your heart can honestly receive. The road ahead may still contain questions, but questions do not have to become fear. The future may still be unseen, but unseen does not mean empty. You may still be waiting, but waiting does not mean your life has stopped. So go forward gently, carry open hands, carry a softer heart, carry the wisdom you have gained, carry the freedom of knowing that one unanswered part of your story does not define the whole of your life. And above all, carry this with you when the room becomes quiet again and your old question returns. You do not have to know what comes next in order to rest in Christ today.